Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 nerve-wracking horror movies. For this list, we're looking at horror movies that give us an existential sense of dread. What flicks give you the willies? Let us know in the comments below. This video is brought to you by Smile. Tickets on sale now at www.smile.movie. In theaters September 30th. Number 10. It Follows.
Don't open the door.
See? Everything's okay.
Well-executed horror films often take fears and anxieties from real life and personify them by turning that fear into a literal killer or monster. It Follows is a perfect example.
Hello? Hello?
In this supernatural horror film, the nameless entity that pursues the protagonist functions as a metaphor for sexually transmitted diseases. The film also builds horror out of sexual anxieties that come with trusting another person with that level of intimacy.
You could pass it on. You did once.
I shouldn't have.
I could.
No.
The film preys on the anxiety of deciding to love the wrong person and being hurt by it, and the fear of passing that pain on to the next person you decide to love.
Do you guys see that girl right there?
Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Number 9. Halloween. Notable for being a film that helped define and popularize the slasher genre, Halloween spawned dozens of sequels, reboots, and imitators. But honestly, none of them scare us quite like the original. That's in large part due to the relentless nature of its seemingly unstoppable killer, the faceless Michael Myers. What really makes Michael terrifying is that there's no explanation of his evil. No justification is given for why he's murdering Laurie Strode's friends, and no exposition for his invulnerability was provided, at least not in the first film. The seemingly invincible, slow-moving killer with no conscience remains iconic to this day, as does the film's unnerving score. Number 8. Black Swan.
I can't handle this! I can't! I'm the Swan Queen. You're the one who never left the core.
What's often scarier than the monsters and killers hiding in the shadows? The horrors that exist in the human mind when we push ourselves to dark places. Psychological horror fills us with a special kind of dread, and Black Swan's exploration of the fragmenting mind of an obsessed performer is among the best in the genre.
Not so controlled. Seduces. Not just the prince, but the court, the audience, the entire world. Come on. The fouettiere like a spider spinning a web. Attack it! Attack it! Come on!
As Nina, a repressed young ballerina, begins to come into her own by finally earning a spot in the lead role in Swan Lake, pressures from her mother, rival, and artistic director cause her to crack. As Nina becomes more confident, she also loses her grip on reality, descending into self-destructive madness. Number 7. Alien. The right environment can create an overwhelming sense of anxiety. Set in the cold emptiness of space, this 1979 sci-fi horror masterpiece sends shivers down our spines. Chased by an alien monster with seemingly no purpose or desire other than to kill, the crew of the Nostromo are confined to their claustrophobic ship, countless miles from any possible help. The titular xenomorph, and by extension the film itself, has been interpreted by many as a representation of anxieties about sex and violence. This combination of an isolating setting, grotesque visual metaphors, and duplicitous crew members still creates tension in moviegoers over 40 years later.
What was your special order?
You read it. I thought it was clear.
What was it?
Bring back life form. Priority 1. All other priorities rescinded.
Number 6. The Silence of the Lambs.
Well, Clarice, have the lambs stopped screaming?
While slasher films were new and novel in the 1970s, by the 90s, the tropes were beginning to wear thin. While those films had become all about gore and frightening images, The Silence of the Lambs arrived and took an entirely different approach.
A census taker once tried to test me. I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
The film is terrifying in its restraint and realism, with much of the horror coming from Anthony Hopkins' terrifyingly frightening performance as Dr. Hannibal Lecter. Despite his eloquence, the persistent threat of horrific violence comes through in his every word, a threat that culminates in a brutal scene.
Jimmy, watch it, he's got
Lecter is a horror icon for a reason. Number 5. Hereditary. Family can be complicated. With his feature-length directorial debut Hereditary, Ari Aster created a film about how pain can be passed down generationally by presenting a family dealing with the death of their manipulative matriarch. As more and more terrible things plague the family, we're forced to question whether they're just unlucky, or rather doomed to live out this horror. While that fate slowly but surely plays out in the dark, Aster's follow-up film, Midsommar, also deserves mention here. This time around, Aster puts the horror in the light of day and focuses not on family, but on the anxiety created by a deteriorating relationship. Number 4. The Blair Witch Project. Few films on this list can be said to have popularized an entire subgenre, but that is exactly what the Blair Witch Project accomplished. While it wasn't the first found footage film ever made, it was the first to achieve mainstream success and make a significant cultural impact. Following its release, the subgenre exploded in popularity in the decades to follow.
I'm scared to close my eyes. I'm scared to open them.
Found footage excels at putting its audience in the headspace of the characters, making us feel their anxiety. It's become a staple of horror, but few do it better than this influential film.
Tell me where you are, Josh!
In essence, Blair Witch became the film equivalent of an urban legend told by the campfire, using the still-developing internet to become arguably the first viral hit film. Number 3. The Thing. The Thing follows a group of scientists in Antarctica who come across a parasitic alien. It has the unique ability to take on the exact appearance of any life form it assimilates. And so, over the course of the movie, the titular thing multiplies and takes on the appearance of a number of hosts, threatening to spread over the entire planet if not contained.
We're gonna draw a little bit of everybody's blood. We're gonna find out who's the thing.
Both the characters in the film and the audience have no idea who's been replaced by a monster or not, and so they inevitably turn on one another. The paranoia-inducing situation is only made more tense by the fact that the film offers up some of the most graphic and disturbing practical effects in cinematic history. Number 2. The Shining. Nothing ever seems quite right in The Shining, and it's this relentless sense of uneasiness, which slowly tips to madness, that puts it so high on our list.
I love you, Danny. I love you more than anything else in the whole world. I would never do anything to hurt you. Never.
Something is off with Jack Nicholson's character Jack Torrance, something is off with the creepy hotel he's staying in, and something is off with his peculiar son Danny.
Red rum! Red rum! Stop it! Red rum! Danny! Red rum! Red rum!
If the audience expects explicit explanations for the unusual happenings at the hotel, there are none to be found in the film. Is the hotel haunted, with residents trapped in some kind of time loop doomed to repeat its violent past? Or has Jack just gone insane, driven to murderous rage by his snowy isolation? You tell us.
Danny! I'm coming!
Before we unveil our top pick, here are some honorable mentions. The Invisible Man. What you don't see is most frightening of all. A Nightmare on Elm Street. Made us afraid to go to sleep. Paranormal Activity. Just leave that house already. Misery. Obsession is dangerous.
God, I love you.
A Quiet Place. Making sound truly terrifying. Number 1. Get Out.
Get out! Yo! Yo! Shoot it! Get out! Shoot!
Jordan Peele has managed to make us anxious more than once, with his films Us and Nope doing the trick with doppelgangers and UFOs respectively. In his first venture into horror, however, Peele manages to take fears about racism and racial identity and turn them into pure anxiety-inducing horror. Rather than being about overt racism, Get Out is a scathing indictment of white liberals and the tendency to see blackness as a commodity and black bodies as a prize or tool. The film makes this metaphorical fear a literal one, as a black man ends up in danger of becoming a prisoner in his own body, watching helplessly from the depths of his mind as someone else takes control. It is pure anxiety.
Now you're in the sunken place.